Hello there, friends. We are back from the X-Men from the Ashes panel. I have this very big wig on that I honestly have been wearing all day and my head is killing me. But we are not here to talk about that. We are here to talk about some exciting news that we got on From the Ashes right now at San Diego Comic-Con. It's a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. That's why I'm here in a hotel room with a wig on. Dressed as Rogue herself, sugar. And yeah, I am very excited to talk to you about this. So let's get started, shall we? Yes, we shall. We got so many previews for covers. We got previews for covers from the X-Men, I think through till, I don't even know what issue number. We're going to show them to you. I think it was issue 8, if I'm thinking off the top of my head. I didn't make notes about it. But gosh darn it, they're just showing us so many cool things that look like they're coming. We also had some really standout people on the panel. We had Gail Simone, we had Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, we had Mark Russell, we had Alyssa Wong, who's going to be doing this new Psylocke book that was just announced. My goodness. And we had Declan Shalvey as well. Declan Shalvey also shouted me out when I came up for a question and said that as someone who has loved Rogue since the 90s, that I was like making his dreams come true with my cosplay. So I think Declan Shalvey may have a bit of a crush on Rogue. So good to know. Also, Declan, if you're watching this, I'm so excited for just your Mystique book and everything that you're doing. I'm so excited for everything everyone's doing. Gosh darn it. I'm going to be broke, y'all. I do not have the money for all these comics that I want to buy. What's the problem? So let's talk about some of these comics. So we have the Uncanny XMen comic. Uncanny, Gail Simone said, is going to be a gothic horror-inspired comic that is obviously set in New Orleans. We already knew that. But the gothic horror element, I had an inkling, but I was not expecting that entirely. And she was like, so we're still going to be kicking butt, but there's also going to be some smooching happening. And obviously, as a fan of Rogue and Gambit, I am so excited for the smooching. I hope they get to do a lot of smooching. I'd be really here for that. Goodness knows they could use some smooching time. Rogue is going to be going through something interesting in that. I actually got up and asked a question at the end of the panel. I was lucky enough, I got to ask a question. Also, I am losing my voice a little bit, so don't worry, I'm okay. I'm not sick or anything. It's just from overuse. And when I got up, one of the questions that I asked Gail Simone specifically about what she was excited about in terms of a new direction, a new approach, something different that we'd be seeing with Rogue. And she was talking about Rogue's focus on Xavier's dream and whether or not she is right to want to continue to pursue Xavier's dream, or whether or not she's going to maybe have to give that up throughout the series and what she learns in terms of her wanting to hold on to that. So we're going to New Orleans. We're going to Gambit's hideout there. That's what's going to be happening. And I also did get some info that Gail Simone said there's something really exciting too that's very different here, where we're going to have a danger room that's actually outside in the woods. I cannot wait to see that. I wonder if there's going to be spooky stuff. I also wanted to know if there was going to be supernatural elements, but I only get one question, so I had to choose. I also asked the other panelists what characters in their book they were excited to bring something new to, or a new perspective, or just something different. And Kelly and Lansing answered David Elaine and also Enoll, which I think was really cool. Talking about David Elaine in terms of how he's always the smartest guy in the room, and like it's really about what he knows, but how smarts can be more than just like what you know specifically, and getting to see like a different side of him. And then Enoll finding that he loves to bartend, but also this is a kind of a dangerous world to love that in, especially when you're in New York City, which is now everything is very human over there, and Enoll is obviously a mutant who looks like a mutant. You know what I mean? So that is going to be an interesting challenge, it sounds like, for him. So I cannot wait to see where that goes with NYX, which I'm also really excited to check out. I did get an issue of it, so I'm hopefully going to be able to read it soon. I read Phoenix today, and I gotta say, I am very intrigued. I'm not like super hooked yet, but I'm very intrigued by the story we're getting there. So interested to see more of that. We also heard in Uncanny X-Men that there is some new characters we're getting, which I think is really cool. It sounds like a lot of the books are going to have new mutants in them for us to see. One of the mutants that Gail alluded to, she gave us a little sneak peek on, was Jitters. We did get some art of Jitters, and we also found out this is one of 4 new mutants that are going to be introduced in Uncanny X-Men. Jitters is really cool in the sense that Jitters struggles to focus, but for 1 minute, Jitters' powers allow them to just focus on one thing and like just crush it. So whether that's fighting like Bruce Lee or unlocking a lock, those are a couple examples Gail gave us specifically. It'll be interesting to see what we get with that character, and also what the other characters are like. Gail did say that their powers are kind of a little bit more invisible, so I think that means they're not going to necessarily have physical mutations, but they're going to have some powers that are like underneath the surface. It's also interesting because it sounds like Uncanny X-Men is going to be a bit of a school book as well, even though I thought Exceptional X-Men was going to be our only like back to school book. But I wonder if it's more like along the way they're just going to find X-Men, they're going to find mutants, I should say, that they need to mentor. So we'll see where that goes. We also got some looks at Exceptional X-Men as well, which seems like it's going to be focusing obviously on Kate and what she kind of gets up to after seemingly being kind of done with mutants, but then kind of getting, I think, pulled back into the whole mentorship role by Emma Frost. And it looks like also later, based on the covers that we got to take a peek at for that comic, we're going to see Emma and Kate butting heads quite a bit, which I do love. But I also love that they have become really close. So I hope we don't lose that and that they're not just like at each other's throats the entire time. I don't know though. Everyone said Exceptional X-Men is also like the favorite of the creatives, that book. So I think that's going to be one to keep your eyes peeled for, because it sounds like Exceptional X-Men has a lot of love from the creators. Also, I just wanted to say, I think the colors in that book are some of my favorite colors that I saw at the panel. They're just like stunning, like really, really beautiful colors. I think Carmen Carnero is doing that art for Exceptional X-Men. And I also just really love the art. So I'm very curious to see what we're getting up to with that book and with Ewing, who is not on the panel. So I didn't get to ask any questions, but I'm excited. NYX is a community book, is something that I learned, which is interesting. So Kelly and Lansing said that it is a community book, not a team book, which means we're not going to be seeing a team in NYX. We're more going to be seeing a community of mutants with each issue focusing on their specific story for like a specific mutant. And then overall, there's going to be an overall story that'll become more apparent as it continues on. So once that more of that forms, I assume it's going to be like each chapter, each issue is going to feel like we got a little piece of that story as it builds. I think that's a really cool concept for the way they want to lay out that story. And I also kind of love it because it means that if there's a specific character you love that's featured in NYX, but maybe you're not as here for everything else, it can mean that this might be a good book to just tap into, because each story, it sounds like, is going to maybe be a little bit more self-contained. So you could come in for one issue and then if you really like it, continue. I think it's going to be kind of structured like that, which sounds interesting. At least based on what they said, that's what it sounds like to me. So we find out that issue 1 for NYX is going to be focused on Kamala, which people might already know because I know that book is out. But like I said, I haven't read mine yet, so we'll see what I think of that. Issue number 2 is focused on Wolverine, Laura Kinney. And the interesting thing they said is that Kamala is kind of like their version of Superman, and Lara is going to be more like our version of Batman in terms of how these two characters, probably how important they are, but also in terms of their tension and their approach to heroics, which is going to be very different. And there's going to be some tension between Kamala and Laura in this book, which I'm very curious to see what they do with that. It sounds super interesting, and it just sounds like they're really excited to be writing these characters. So honestly, every time I hear something new about From the Ashes, I'm like, dang it, this all sounds pretty good. So there's going to be a return of a classic X-Men villain in issue 2 as well. I don't know who it'll be. I don't know. I wonder if it'll be someone connected to Wolverine mythos, just because Laura's going to be the second issue. Or if it'll be maybe someone from her past. Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see where we go with that, but it is supposed to be a classic X-Men villain who's going to be returning in issue 2. I don't know, Vanisher? Who could it be? I'll have to wait and find out. Apparently, NYX is going to be like an album where each issue is almost like its own thing, its own track. But then by the end, or, you know, as it continues, we're going to get a better sense for the full story of the comic, of the piece as kind of like an album, which is really, really cool. We also know of some of the villains that are going to be in NYX. We kind of have this other group of mutants who are going to be acting opposite to the main characters we have in the series. One of them that they wanted to highlight was the Krakoan, so we got to see a little bit more of the Krakoan, who I believe is Hellion. And they said for Academy X fans, there's going to be a lot of sort of callbacks and kind of some Academy X stuff they really want to get into with those characters. So I think we're going to be seeing maybe more of Academy X as well. Sarah Pichelli is the one who is doing, I think, covers for NYX, and we got to look at those as well. I also learned some things about pronunciations. I think I've been saying Tom Brevoort wrong the entire time because I believe it's Tom Brevoort. So my apologies that I've been saying that wrong, but I just learned that. That's how it was said in the panel. We got to look at XFactor. XFactor is an interesting book. I think every time I hear something more about this one, I'm more intrigued by it. I don't know if I'm going to be here for XFactor. I think there's going to be some things that I'm going to be here for. So it sounds like it's going to be very entertaining, and it's going to have a focus on kind of what it's like to be a mutant hero in now a very human world, and how do you keep your sense of identity when that happens. And also it sounds like it's going to be kind of like the idea of what a hero is on paper versus what it actually means to be a hero, just based on some of the stuff they were talking about. It sounds like it's going to be maybe a younger book too, but I'm not entirely sure on that. They were just talking about how like these heroes have to have almost like a social media presence, which is interesting, I think. They did say don't sleep on this book, but I mean, you would say that if you want to sell this book. So I don't know. I definitely am. I'm going to be reading XFactor, so I hope you'll be reading it with me and we can talk about it in the comments and see how we're feeling as it unfolds. Mystique is obviously going to be by Declan Shalvey. I'm very excited for this book. I gotta tell you, it looks like it's going to be killer. And Declan emphasized the fascination, I think, that he has with Mystique, how he's very excited to be drawing so many characters through her because Mystique can be anyone, but also how the book is kind of about what happens when you have a character that's as dangerous as Mystique after everything with Fall of X, and kind of just keeping tabs on her because clearly she's going to be very important. Which, yeah, I mean, Mystique is like, what a scary idea, just like Mystique running rogue after everything that's happening. I'm very curious to see what she's going to get up to. In X-Force issue number 5, a character is going to be dying. I don't know who, but this is also in a place where we don't have resurrection protocols, so death always really scares me now because we've been spoiled during the Krakoan era. Wolverine in his book is going to be having a run-in with Department H. We kind of got to look at just a few books like really rapid fire, and they just gave us a few details, so we know that'll be happening. Psylocke is going to be focused on, you know, why does she choose to be a hero coming out of everything she's been through, her really tragic past, her origin, and just her dealing, it sounds like, with a lot of the trauma in her past and kind of addressing that, which I think is always good with Psylocke because although I do think we've touched on some of that in Fallen Angels and in Hellions from the Krakoan era, I think there's still a lot more to talk about there, and I'm curious to see where that will go. It sounds like it's going to be a really dark book, but Alyssa Wong also emphasized that it's going to be really fun. So like, there's going to be fun elements, but it sounds like it's going to be pretty heavy, which honestly, I think Psylocke fans are going to be here for. So let me know if you're a Psylocke fan down in the comments, if you are super here for that or where you're at with that. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I think I'm going to be really interested in this Psylocke, and apparently it's going to be an ongoing, not a limited. At least that's what they said in the panel. So we'll see. Though will Dazzler be an ongoing? A girl can dream. A girl can dream, y'all. That was pretty much the panel and all of the stuff that I heard in there. I'm really excited. I'm really excited for From the Ashes. Let me know if you've been reading along, what you've been loving. I'm definitely going to do some more videos where I talk about the other books as well. So hopefully I'll get those up for you soon. I've just been really busy here at San Diego Comic-Con and also doing other work outside of the con while I'm at the con. There's a lot happening for me right now. So thank you so much for your patience and understanding as I get this content out to you. Thank you so much to my editors that are helping me behind the scenes. And thank you so much to Comic-Con for you know, fitting my question into that panel. I got up there and I did it all. I did it all as Rogue, darling. I asked questions as Rogue with the accent, and everyone was super into it. So also, if I see you around at the con and you see me and you were at the panel, come on over and give me a fist bump. I've already had some people come up to me to say hello. Please do. I would love to meet you. That's pretty much it, I think, for me. That's all I have to say. I really want to take this wig off. Also, if you're wondering, I do have gloves. I'm just not wearing them. And one more thing. Shout out to Julia, who made a lot of this costume. And not the wig. I'll put links for stuff for that in case you want to know more. But Black Mist Clothing, y'all. Go check it out. That's what I'll say. This coat is super sick. I'm wearing it forever. I'll see you next time. And until then, stay nerdy.